Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Bloodborne OST reaction. And yes, because I spent a lot of time talking about a steal last time and made a lot of connections between, it seemed to be almost like a Bloodborne inspired track. I decided that again I wanted to listen to more Bloodborne anyway, which is why we are already going straight back into the old Hunters DLC. And now we get the opportunity to talk about definitely one of the more underrated boss fights in From Software's catalog. It's Now listen, I know that by far the Living Failures boss fight is the worst in the Old Hunters DLC. It is far from the worst out of the whole series. I think it's like so it's a very mid sort of boss fight in all seriousness. I think the Celestial Emissary is by far worse, all things considered. But again, you could forgive the Celestial Emissary in some way because you literally fight one of the best fight in Abritus immediately after that fight. Which again, it's Living Failures is it's perfectly fine. It's harmless for what it does. And considering how difficult some fights really start, I mean, bear in mind, in the Old Hunters DLC, you fight Ludwig, you fight Lawrence, you fight Lady Maria, and then you fight the Orphan of Kos. Having something a little bit easier is not really going to hurt, especially because some bosses in From Software's history are not 100% designed just to be thrilling experience. Like some of them are lore bosses, for example. They're designed to sort of tell the story or showcase the story in a different perspective. Anyone remembers that one? What was that one fight in Demon Souls where you fight an NPC and then once you defeat it, she literally just gives you the soul and the fight's over. I know of what that fight is because it's designed more to tell a story than it is for a mechanics showcase. Similar to something like Sif from Dark Souls 1. It's more designed to tell a story than to be but it's not. They're not bad either. And the Living Failures is, well, you just fight a bunch of these abnormal looking mutated alien things in the middle of a tree, which is just basically a sunflower, almost partly inspired by the Skidoo tree from the Elden Ring DLC. But essentially, it's just defeating. It's not particularly very difficult. It's one attack where it sort of shoots meteorites, isn't hard to avoid and stuff like that. But it's okay on balance. The only real way you can lose to it is if you just don't really if you're in no hurry to defeat it, then it can be a little bit harder. But by that point, you should be leveled up unless you put all your points into Arcane like I did. But that's besides the point. I didn't lose to this fight. But there is one saving grace to this boss fight, and it's the score. And wait until you hear this. It sounds like the opening to Tim Burton's third Batman movie, if we ever got it. But it sounds it's dripping in Tim Burton's Gothic late 80s, early 90s personality. You could almost tell me this was the opening to Beetlejuice 2, and I wouldn't even say I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, I am sorry, but I have to pause it. You know what? You know what this you could have told me this was composed by the late great Shirley Walker, and I would not even doubt it. It sounds absolutely like the you know what you could do a remake of Batman Mask of the Phantasm and have this in its own. By the way, in case you forget, how many of you guys have ever seen Mask of the Phantasm? You know how it opens with Gotham City in CG, but it's basically just like black silhouettes with like windows, and there's the panoramic shot of just a camera just sort of like flying versus gliding more or less through the city. This is this entire thing. It is gorging with personality and intrigue and suspense. This is the sort of thing that literally if boss fights like Ludwig, they pull you into a DLC with absolutely like no mercy. This is the sort of thing that makes you want to stay in it, and it's it is a beautiful little piece of attention right here, because it's very very in line with a lot of Bloodborne's themes and murder and stuff as well. And now this is just sort of like this is like no other. And bear in mind, I don't even think this is even the best OST in the game. I mean, I could stay here and say stuff like probably Dark Beast Paul, Garum, the Orphan of Kos, Lady Maria. Oh god, there is like there are just straight up too many to count. Gascoigne as well Gascoigne is one of the absolute best that From Software has ever done. And I will die on that hill, by the way, and say that maybe Gascoigne is one of my apps. And bear in mind, From Software, I don't understand. Again, I don't understand how Japanese composers can create better orchestral tracks than the continent that invented them. And bear in mind, this is nearly a 10-year-old game, and people come back and play it, and they talk about it, and they listen to it time and time and time again. It is, and you know why? Because it's great. The gameplay is great. The music's great. The story is great. A world without hope is a great idea, because people come back to it to find hope, but to find ways to stop this nightmare. And the night and the dream are incredibly long. And if you've played this game, you will know just how difficult the odds are. And then once you get into the DLC, and it's basically like everything else they wanted to do for the original game and then put into it, which is really what a DLC should do. I know I'm really ranting about this, but this is why Bloodborne is one of the greatest of all time, because there doesn't need to be a sequel for this, for the same reason that there doesn't need to be a sequel to 1984, because what we get is absolutely what it should be. A world without hope. That is just... I don't really think I've got anything else to say to that, because I'm I can't get over this. It is like, I know absolutely people will just straight up say for that again. It wouldn't matter anyway, because the fight isn't really that good for what it is. I'd say somehow I think that's only half of it. I think again with I think for oh god, I'm trying to find like a suitable way to just like summarize this, but I can't. But I'll try. I'll try and come up with something profound. Okay, I'll just say this. When like I'm done with this whole like retrospective about all of the From Software OSTs, I probably will do like a tier list, and this will probably be somewhere in the very high A tier. Maybe not S tier, because S tier kind of has to hit very, very differently to the others, but this will be quite high. And bear in mind, the S tier will comprise of things like Medea and Gale and the Divine Beast and Gascoigne and probably Gurman as well. But there are plenty of others in store, and good lord, trying to get through that something like that is going to be it's going to be an adventure and a half. So I hope all of you guys are looking forward to that at any rate. So thank all of you guys for watching again, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.